Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another addition to the CSS properties. Today we will be covering the text align and vertical align. Let's go on ahead and get this ball rolling. Okay, let's open up Visual Studio Code and we will go on ahead and knock this out. Happy 3rd of July. Okay, and if you don't want to use Visual Studio Code, you can of course use any editor that you would like. All right, so we're gonna go on ahead and create two files. And since we're working with the text align, let's go on ahead and do that. Actually create the actual file. We're gonna call it just exactly what we're working with. So we're working with the actual text and vertical align properties. And there's my file. And I'm going to name the same thing for these styles: text and vertical align .css. Perfect. And let's go on ahead and open up Live Server. That's the extension that we have for Visual Studio Code. I'm going to slide that bad boy over here and close this and that and that. And let's do our bare bones markup. And for the title, we'll do text and vertical align. All right. Okay, we got the title right over there. We are going to need to add the CSS file. All right, and we're calling it text and vertical align, so pretty much the same name. And again, you can call these anything you would actually like. I just happen to just name the same text file, HTML file, and CSS file the same. But you can just call it styles.css. All right, let's go on ahead and add some markup here. And this is going to be working with text align and text property. No, text align and vertical align. There we go. That'll work. And that's a little big, so let's just give that, we'll make that an H2, see if that bad boy will fit better in there. Okay, and I'm going to add some additional H2s here. And let's just give it some fake text that we want to work with. We'll say lorem 5. And I'm going to copy this a few times. There we go. And let's add some actual classes here, and we'll start working with the text align property. So, let's give it a class here. We'll call this left. And I'll just copy that. Go down here, paste it. Control V to paste. And let's change the names. We'll call this justify. And we'll give this one the class of center, and we'll give this one the class of right. All right, and now that we actually have that, what we can do, or actually let's increase the amount of text that's actually here. So I'll just copy this. All right, just so we have some more text in here to work with. And instead of an H2, what I'm going to do is make this a paragraph. That way we can showcase how that text will actually be affected. All right, so we have something to work with here. Let's go to our CSS file. I'm going to right click on the tab. I'm going to split that bad boy down and move our markup up here, and let's work with the first actual property here. We have an H2, so let's work with that. an H2, he writes H1. And I'm just going to add a border around these bad boys. All right, so now you can see there's a border to the left. And now let's see what happens if we use the text align property. Excuse me there. All right, so as the phone was ringing, we're going to use the first actual class of left. And the text property is, or the actual property itself that we'll be using is text align left. All right, now here's the thing. The default is actually, the default text is always aligned to the actual left. So in order to see that actual change, what can we do here? Let's go to the markup and let's just say for whatever reason, the actual font was already positioned to the right. So let's add an inline style here. So we'll say style text align and we'll say right. Okay. And so that'll be for this. So text align right. All right. And let me refresh that. Okay. So here the actual text is aligned to the right. So let's just say you happen to be working with a CSS file or a CSS property or rule that's coming in from somewhere else. You may not know where it's coming from, but you may need to override it. So in this case, we have a class to the left, and let's go on ahead and override that by placing important here. And then you'll see the actual font go back to the actual left, which there it is all the way to the left. All right, so that works out. Let's go on ahead and go to the next class down, which is class right. And again, I'm just taking that from the actual markup class that we have right above in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so we want this text to be aligned to the right. So let's do text align for the property name, and the value will be, and let's take a look over here, right here, and we're going to text align to the right. And now the text is there all the way to the right. Again, it may be a project that you're working on where you have to play around with these, different types of alignments with the actual text. Let's go down to the next one, which is class center, and let's do the same thing. We'll use the actual center class name, and we'll do text align, and it's going to be not center, it's going to be center. And there's our text, beautifully centered in the actual middle. All right, so there are a few different ways to actually align to the left, right, and the actual center. All right, let's go on ahead and work with the justify here. So what can we do here? For the justify, text align justify, every line in the actual paragraph, the paragraph that we have here, needs to take up the full width of the containing box. So let me just add a few more lines here, right within our paragraph. All right, and it looks a little sloppy up there, but that's okay. It still looks the same over here. So let's go on ahead. We have the class name justify. So let's actually target that. So justify. Here's our rule with the class name, and we're using the text align property. And it is going to be, well, actually, let's look at it first. Here's the actual paragraph right below all of our H2s. All right, and now we're going to do text align justify and see what happens here. All right, so small change. Okay, now all of the text is using all of the available space. Okay, if I comment that out, look to the left. All right, and maybe let me just change the color so you can kind of see that a little better. All right, so did it change? It is blue, but it didn't really change too much. All right, let's maybe do font weight bold. Stands out a little bit more. Hey, looking at some additional font styling here. So we have font family, just to make it a little easy on the eyes. Oh, okay. All right. That stands out a little bit better. And of course, we covered these different properties in the previous tutorials within the actual CSS playlist of this series. All right. So I'll comment out the text align justify. Okay, wait for that to refresh, and we see this amount of space here, a little bit of space here. Let's go on ahead and add justify again, because with the justify set as the value of text align, again, every line is going to take up the full width of the containing box. So let's go on ahead and comment that out, or uncomment that out, and take a look. And there it is, nicely flushed all the way to the right. Very good. Not bad at all. All right, and let's see, what else do we got going here? That is the text align, and what we can work with now is the vertical align. So let's get some actual markup for that. And let's see, I guess we can place that right below here. So let's get a H1. And now that we have that, we'll say this area here is working with vertical align property. All right, so that's there. And let's add a couple of divs. We'll do one and then we'll copy it. So div with an actual class name of wrapper. Okay, and in that we're going to place an image in here. The image is going to have, where are our images? So let's see, images, there we go, images, and we're going to use the bird, and no alt attribute for now, but we will add a class. And what's our class name going to be? Okay, let's do for the vertical align. So that has a few different values, but we'll go over the kind of like the main one. So we'll do text top, and these are kind of like clear giveaways as to what's going to happen. Oh, but our image doesn't. I don't see our image. Okay, let's see what's going on with our image. Okay, let's back this up a little bit. Okay, which directory are we in? Okay, there's the images directory. All right, so let's go there, and there's a bird, so let's use that, and there's our bird. There we go. Sometimes you got to play around with it. Are you going down, or are you going up a directory, down a directory, and just trying to find your way? But Visual Studio Code kind of allows you to just kind of play around with that by just typing in, and some available options will actually come up. All right, let's go on ahead, and I'm just going to set that width. Let's make the actual image a little smaller down here in our CSS. So we'll target the actual image, and we'll give that a width of 100 pixels. We'll do, 100. 100 pixels. Set the height to auto, and that's just so it can actually shrink with the actual proportions. And let's add some text to the right. That's what we're going to do. So just some text to work with. Normally we wouldn't have loose text out here, but in this case, to showcase how the vertical align property works, we'll do that here. So some text to work with. All right, perfect. All right, and now let's just copy this. We'll paste it in twice. Okay, and now let's go to our CSS to actually use the next property, which is going to be the vertical align. So our first class is text top. So let's actually take that. That's going to be the first box, text top. I'm getting that class name right here. All right, and I'm using it in our CSS file that is also linked with the HTML file. And let's go on ahead, and vertical align is the actual property, and we want it at the top of that particular image. So let's do text top for the value. And there we have text top, in which they all moved, and the reason why they all moved is because they all have the same class name. So let's change that. So text top, and then we're going to have text middle, and then we'll have text bottom. So you'll start noticing those changes to your left. All right, text bottom. There we go. And now we're going to go on ahead and use that class here. So text middle, and now we can use the vertical align and text. Oh, actually not text. For the value of that is just going to be middle. And take a look at that text, and there we go. We have the text in the middle. This is a little bunched up here. Let me just add a little space on that div. I'll just add it right here. It's just a div, and we'll go on ahead, add a little margin on the bottom. So we'll say 0 on the top, 0 on the right side, and 0 for the bottom. We'll do 5 pixels and 0 on the left. So that should push that down a little bit. There we go. So now we just have a little space all for the actual div. And just so you can see what that div is actually containing, we'll just put a border there so you can take a look at that. I usually put borders whenever you're doing any type of design. I either do borders or background colors just to kind of see what areas I'm actually working with. All right, so this entire div is, the full block element from left to right, and there's the margin that's on the bottom, and there's actually a margin there as well. Okay, so, and I believe the last one is the text bottom. So let's see here. The text is already actually at the bottom. What we can do, make a little change here. Well, we'll just add it for completeness. So text bottom, and this is if your font happened to be at the top already. Let's actually go here, and we'll just make an inline style. Normally you wouldn't do this, but this is just to showcase how you would use it. So text style, I'm going to use vertical align, vertical align, and we'll say top. The vertical align, the property, it's text top. All right, so the text is actually moved up to the top. So let's just say it was already like that before we actually got down here, and then we needed to override it for whatever reason. And then in that case, we would just do vertical align and text bottom. And because the inline style has a higher precedence of the actual CSS file, we're going to need to put the exclamation mark important to override that. And there's your text right over there. You notice it moved back down to the actual bottom. Okay, if I were to take that out, it would look like this. It's at the top. If I place it back in, and it goes down to the bottom because we're saying, hey, this is important. Go on ahead and move that text down to the bottom. And that is it. That is it. 2 additional properties that you are adding to your belt. And again, these are the things you need in order to actually make websites or mobile applications, because there's a number of different issues you're going to bump in when you're working with a design or an actual mock-up. So when we actually start building some websites and different applications, you're going to notice, oh, okay, how do I move this? How do I do that? How do I move this to the right? How do I move this up top? I need to make this stuff look like the actual mock-up, the design. And you need the actual CSS tools. There's going to be very little HTML when we actually build websites. The majority of the stuff is going to be all CSS based. You'll be making these changes to your actual HTML structure, and again, you're just adding more CSS properties and values to your tool belt, which is going to make your web development process that much easier. Okay, so thanks for sticking with us. Go on ahead and subscribe so you can get the additional information. And of course, always hit a like if you do like, and of course hit the notifications as well, so you can actually be alerted as to when a new video actually comes out. All right, leave a comment in the comments if you're stuck on anything, and I'll get in contact with you so we can schedule some time aside to actually help you with that. All right, full stack out.